Ulysses by James Joyce, Section 18B. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, visit LibriVox.org.
He was looking at me. I had that white blouse on, open in the front to encourage him as much as I could without too openly. They were just beginning to be plump.
I said I was tired. We lay over the fir tree cove, a wild place. I suppose it must be the highest rock in existence. The galleries and casements of those frightful rocks in St. Michael's Cave, with the icicles or whatever they call them hanging down, and ladders. All the mud touching my boots. I'm sure that's the way down. The monkeys go under the sea to Africa when they die. The ships out far like chips. That was the Malta boat passing. Yes, the sea and the sky. You could do what you liked. Lie there forever. You could caress them outside. They love doing that. The roundness there. I was leaning over him with my white rice straw hat to take the newness out of it. The left side of it is the best. My blouse open for his last day. Transparent kind of shirt he had. I could see his chest pink.
He wanted to touch mine.
Wanted to touch mine,
but I wouldn't let him. He was awfully put out. First, for fear you never know consumption and leave me with a child in Barazada. That old servant Inez told me that one drop, even if got into you at all. After I tried a banana, but I was afraid it might break and get lost up in me somewhere. Because they once took something down out of a woman that was up there for years covered with lime salt. They're all mad to get in there where they come out of.
You'd think they could never go far enough up. And then they're done with you in a way. Till the next time. Yes, because there's a wonderful feeling. They're so tender all the time.
How did we finish it off?
Yes. Oh, yes. I pulled him off into my handkerchief.
I pulled him off into my handkerchief, pretending not to be excited, but I opened my legs. I wouldn't let him touch me inside my petticoat because I had a skirt opening up the side.
Life out of him.
Tormented the life out of him. First tickling him.
Rousing that dog in the hotel.
I love rousing that dog in the hotel. His eyes shut and a bird flying below us. He was shy all the same. I liked him like that, moaning. I made him blush a little when I got over him that way. When I unbuttoned him and took his out and drew back the skin, it had a kind of eye in it. They're all buttons, men, down the middle, on the wrong side of them. Molly, darling, he called me. What was his name? Was it Jack, Joe, Harry, Molly, was it? Yes, I think. A lieutenant.
Lieutenant. He was rather fair. He had a laughing kind of voice, so I went round to the... What do you call it? Everything was, what do you call it?
He said he'd come back.
Mustache.
Lord, just like yesterday to me. And if I was married, he'd do it to me. And I promised him, yes, faithfully, I'd let him block me. Now flying. Perhaps he's dead, or killed, or a captain or admiral.
It's nearly 20
years. If I said Fir Tree Cove, he would. If he came up behind me and put his hand over my eyes to guess who, I might recognize him. He's young still, about 40.
Perhaps he's married some girl on the Blackwater and is quite changed. They all do. They haven't half the character a woman has. She well knows what I did with her beloved husband before he ever dreamt of her. In broad daylight, too. In the sight of the whole world, you might say. They could have put an article about it in the Chronicle. I was a bit wild.
After when I blew out the old bag the biscuits were in for the Nettie brothers.
Lord,
with a bag.
All the wood pigeons coming back the same way we went, over Middle Hill round by the old guardhouse and the Jews' burial place, pretending to read out the Hebrew on them. I wanted to fire his pistol. He said he hadn't one. He didn't know what to make of me, with his peak cap on that he always wore crooked as often as I settled it straight. HMS Calypso, swinging my hat. That old bishop that spoke off the altar, with a long preach about women's higher functions, about girls now riding the bicycle, God sent him sense and me
more money. I suppose they're called after him. I never thought that would be my name, Bloom. When I used to write in print to see how it looked on a visiting card, or practicing for the butcher and oblige. M. Bloom. You're looking blooming, Josie used to say after I married him. Well, it's better than Breen or Briggs does Briggs, or those awful names with bottom in them. Mrs. Ramsbottom, or some other kind of bottom. Mulvey. I wouldn't go mad about either. Or suppose I divorced him. Mrs. Boylan.
My mother, whoever she was, might have given me a nicer name. The Lord knows. After the lovely one she had, Lunita Laredo. The fun we had running along Willis Road,
twisting in and out all around the other side of Jersey. They were shaking and dancing about in my blouse, like Millie's little ones now when she runs up the stairs. I loved looking down at them. I was jumping up at the pepper trees and the white poplars, pulling the leaves off and throwing them at him. He went to India. He was to right. The voyages those men have to make to the ends of the world and back. It's the least they might get a squeeze or two at a woman while they can, going out to be drowned or blown up somewhere. I went up Windmill Hill to the flats that Sunday morning with Captain Rubios. That was dead spyglass like the sentry had. He said he'd have one or two from on board. I wore that frock and the Beaumarchais berry, and the coral necklace, the straits shining. I could see over to Morocco, almost the Bay of Tangier.
White, and the Atlas Mountain with snow on it, and the straits like a river so clear. Harry, Molly, darling, I was thinking of him on the sea all the time after at Mass when my petticoats began to slip down at the elevation. Weeks and weeks I kept the handkerchief under my pillow for the smell of him. There was no decent perfume to be got in that Gibraltar, only that cheap eau d'Espagne that faded and left a stink on you more than anything else.
I wanted to give him a memento. He gave me that clumsy clatterling for luck that I gave Gardner going to South Africa where those Boers killed him with their war and their fever. But they were well beaten all the same, as if it brought its bad luck with it, like an opal or pearl. Still, it must have been pure 18-karat gold because it's very heavy. But what could you get in a place like that? The sand frog shower from Africa and that derelict ship that came up to the harbor. Marie. The Marie, what do you call it? No, he hadn't a mustache.
Gardner. Yes, I can see his face clean shaven. That train again weeping tone. Once in the dear dead days beyond recall. Close my eyes, breathe, my lips forward, kiss, sad look, eyes open, piano, air o'er the world the mist began.
I hate that it's big. I hate that it's big. Comes love's sweet song. I'll let that out full when I get in front of the footlights again. Kathleen Carney and her lot of squealers. Miss this, miss that, miss the other.
A lot of sparrow getting around talking about politics.
They know as much about as my backside. Anything in the world to make themselves some way interesting. Irish,
homemade beauties. Soldier's daughter, am I. And whose are you? Bootmakers and publicans. I beg your pardon, Coach. I thought you were a wheelbarrow.
They died down dead off their feet if ever they got a chance of walking down the Alameda on an officer's arm like me on the band night. My eyes flash.
My bust that they haven't passed.
God
help their poor head. I knew more about men and life when I was 15 than they'll all know at 50. They don't know how to sing a song like that. Gardner said no man could look at my mouth and teeth smiling like that and not think of it. I was afraid he mightn't like my accent first. He's so English. All father left me in spite of his stance.
I've my mother's eyes.
I've my mother's eyes and figure, anyhow.
He always said they're so snotty about themselves, some of those cads. He wasn't a bit like that. He was dead gone on my lips. Let them get a husband first that's fit to be looked at and a daughter like mine. Or see if they can excite a swell with money that can pick and choose whoever he wants like Boylan. To do it 4 or 5 times locked in each other's arms.
To do it 4 or 5 times locked in each other's arms. Or the voice either. I could have been a prima donna. Only I married him. Comes love, old deep down. Chin back, not too much. Make it double. My lady's bower is too long for an encore. About the moated grange at twilight in vaunted rooms. Yes, I'll sing Winds That Blow from the South that he gave after the choir stairs performance. I'll change that lace on my black dress to show off my bones.
And yes, by God, I'll get that big band mended, make them burst with envy.
My whole is itching always when I think of him. I feel I want to... I feel some wind in me. Better go easy, not wake him. Half him at it against slobbering after washing every bit of myself back, belly, and sides.
If we even had a bath itself or my own room, anyway. away.
If we even had a bath
She'd
itself.
sleep in some bed by himself. His cold feet on me. Give us room even to let a fart. God, or do the least thing better. Yes, hold them like that a bit on my side. Piano quietly. Sweet. There's that train far away. Pianissimo. One more song. That was a relief. Wherever you be, let your wind go free.
Who knows if that pork chop I took with my cup of tea after was quite good. With the heat, I couldn't smell anything off it.
I'm sure that queer-looking man in the pork butcher's is a great rogue. I hope that lamp is not smoking. Fill my nose up with smuts. Better than having him leaving the gas on all night.
I couldn't rest easy in my bed in Gibraltar, even getting up to sea.
Why am I so damn nervous about that, though?
I like it in the winter. It's more company. Oh, Lord, it was rotten cold, too, that winter when I was only about 10, was I?
Yes, I had the big doll with all the funny clothes, dressing her up and undressing, that icy wind skeeting across from those mountains to something Nevada, Sierra Nevada, standing at the fire with a little bit of a short shift I had up to heat myself. I love dancing
about
then make a
it,
race
then
back.
make a race
I'm sure that fellow opposite used to be there the whole time watching with the lights out in summer.
And I in my skin hopping around. I used to love myself then, stripped at the washstand, dabbing and creaming only when it came to the chamber performance.
I put out the light too, so then there were two of us.
Goodbye to my sleep for this night anyhow. I hope he's not going to get him whimpered through medical, leading him astray to imagine he's young again.
Coming in at 4 in the morning. It must be, if not more. Still, he had the manners not to wake me. What do they find to jabber about all night?
Squandering money and getting drunker and drunker.
Couldn't they drink water? Then he starts giving us his order for eggs and tea and hattie and hot buttered toast. I suppose we'll have him sitting up like the king of the country, pumping the wrong end of the spoon up and down in his egg.
Wherever
Wherever
he learned that from.
And I love to hear
him falling up the stairs of a morning with the cups rattling on the tray and then play with the cat. She rubs up against you for her own sake.
She's as bad as a woman always licking.
She's as bad as a woman always licking and lecking, but I hate their claws.
I wonder, do they see anything that we can't, staring like that? When she sits at the top of the stairs so long and listening as I wait always. What a robber, too. That lovely fresh place. I bought. I think I'll get a bit of fish tomorrow.
Or today. Is it Friday? Yes, I will, with some blamage with black currant jam like long
ago. Not those 2-pound pots of mixed plum and apple from the London and Newcastle.
Williams and Woods go twice as far, only for the bones.
I hate eels. Cod. Yes, I'll get a nice piece of cod. I'm always getting enough to leave forgetting.
Anyway, I'm sick of that everlasting butcher's meat from Buckley's. Loin chops and leg roast and rib steak and scrag of mutton and calf's pluck. The very name is enough. Or a picnic. Suppose we all gave 5 each or let him pay it and invite some other woman for him. Who?
And drove out to the strawberry bed. We'd have him examining all the horses' toenails first, like he does with the letters. No,
like
not
he does with the
Boyer
letters.
there. Yes, with some cold veal and ham mixed sandwiches. There are little houses down at the bottom
of the banks there on purpose. But it's as
hot as blazes.
He says. Not a bank holiday, anyhow. I hate those ruck of Marianne coal boxes out for the day. But Monday is a cursed day, too. No wonder that
bee bit him. Better the seaside. But I'd never again in this life get into a boat with him. After him at Bray telling the boatman he knew how to row, if anyone asked could he ride the steeplechase with a gold cup, he'd say yes. Then it came on to get rough, the old thing crooketing about and weight all down my side.
Telling me pull the right reins, now pull the left, and the tide all swamping in floods in through the bottom, and his oar slipping out of the stern. It's a mercy he won't run around. He can swim, of course. Me? No. No danger whatsoever. Keep yourself calm. Keep yourself calm. Trousers. I'd like to have tattered them down off him before all the people, and give him what that one calls flagellate till he was black and blue. Do him all the good in the world.
Only for that long-nosed chap, I don't know who he is, that other beauty, Burke, out of the City Arms Hotel was there, spying around as usual on the slip, always where he wasn't wanted.
If there was a row on, you'd vomit a better face. There was no love lost between us. That's one consolation.
I wonder what kind is that book he brought me. Sweets of Sin by a Gentleman of Fashion. Some other
Mr. Descartes.
I suppose the people
gave him that nickname going about with his tube from one woman to another. I couldn't even change my new white shoes, all ruined with the salt water.
And the hat I had with that feather, all blowy and
tossed on me. How annoying and provoking. It is the smell of the sea excited me, of course.
The sardines in the
green
bream and
Catalan
Catalan
bay round the back of the rock. They were fine, all silver in the fisherman's basket.
Old Luigi, near 100, they said, came from Genoa. And the tall, old chap with the earrings. I don't like a man you have to climb up to get at. I suppose they're all dead and rotten long ago.
Besides, I don't like being alone in this big barracks of a place at night. I suppose I'll have to put up with it.
I never brought it in,
even when we moved in the confusion. Musical academy he was going to make on the first floor drawing room with a brass plate, or Bloom's private hotel, he suggested. Go and ruin himself altogether the way his father did down in Ennis.
Like all the things he told Father he was going to do, and me. But I saw through him, telling me all the lovely places we could go for the honeymoon. Venice by moonlight with the gondolas and the lake of Como. He had a picture cut out of some paper. And mandolins and lanterns. Oh, how nice, I said.
Whatever I liked, he was going to do immediately, if not sooner.
Will you carry my can?
Will you be my man? Will you carry my can?
He ought to get a leather medal with a putty rim for all the plans he invents, then leaving us here all day. You'd never know what old beggar at the door for a crust with his long story might be a tramp and put his foot in the way to prevent me shutting it. Like that picture of that hardened criminal he was called in Boys Weekly News.
20 years in jail, then he comes out and murders an old woman for her money.
Imagine his poor wife or mother, whoever she is. Such a face you'd
run miles away from.
I couldn't rest easy till I bolted all the doors and windows to make sure. But it's worse again being locked up like in a prison or a madhouse.
They ought to all be shot with a cat of nine tails. A big brute like that would attack a poor old woman to murder her in her bed. I'd cut them off him, so I would.
I'd cut them off him, so I would.
Still better than
Not that he'd be much use. Still better than nothing in the night. I was sure I heard burglars in the kitchen,
and he went down in his shirt with a candle and a poker as if he was looking for a mouse, as white as a sheet, frightened out of his wits, making as much noise as he possibly could for the burglar's benefit. There isn't much to steal, indeed, the Lord knows. Still, it's the feeling, especially now with Millie away.
Such an idea for him to send the girl down there to learn to take photographs on account of his grandfather, instead of
sending her to Scary's Academy, where she'd have to learn. Not like me getting all ones in school. Only he'd do a thing like that all the same on account of me and Boylan.
That's why he did it, I'm certain. The way he plots and plans everything out. I couldn't turn around with her in the place lately unless I bolted the door first.
Give me the fidgets coming in without knocking first.
When I put the chair against the door, just as I was washing myself there below with the glove. Get on your nerves. Then doing the log lady all day. Put her in a glass case with two at a time to look at her. If he knew she broke off the hand off that little gimcrack statue with her roughness and carelessness before she left, but I got that little Italian boy to mend so that you can't see the joint. 2 shillings.
Wouldn't even team the potatoes for you.
Of course, she's right not to ruin her hands. I noticed he was
always talking to her lately at the table, explaining
things in the paper, and she pretending to understand. Sly, of course. That comes from his side of the house.
He can't say I pretend things, can he? I'm too honest, as a matter of fact, in helping her into her coat. But if there was anything wrong with her,
it's me, she'd tell, not him.
I suppose he thinks I'm finished out and laid on the shelf.
Well, I'm not.
Nor anything like it. We'll see. We'll see now. She's well on for flirting, too, with Tom Devon's 2 sons. Imitating me whistling.
With those romps of Murray girls calling for her.
Can Millie come out, please? She's in great demand.
They can out of her round in Nelson Street, riding Harry Devon's bicycle at night. It's as well he sent her where she is. She was just getting out of bounds, wanting to go on the skating rink and smoking their cigarettes through their nose. I smelled it off her dress when I was biting off the thread of the button I sewed onto the bottom of her jacket. She couldn't hide much from me, I tell you. Only I ought to have stitched it.
And it on her it brings a party.
And the last one putting two, split in two halves. See, it comes out
no matter what they say. Her tongue is a bit too long for my taste. Your blouse is open too low, she says to me.
The pan calling the kettle black bottom. And I had to tell her not to cock her legs up like that on show on the windowsill before all the people passing.
They all look at her like me when I was her age. Of course, any old rag looks well on you then. A great touch-me-not, too, in her own way. At the only way in the Theatre Royale. Take your foot away out of that.
I hate people touching me. Afraid of her life, I'd crush her skirt with the pleats. A lot of that touching must go on in theaters.
In the crush, in the dark, trying to wiggle up to that fellow in the pit at the Gaiety for beer bong and Trilby.
Pit at the Gaiety for beer bong and Trilby.
Last
time I'll ever go there.
To be squashed like that for any Trilby or her bear bum every 2 minutes, tipping me there and looking away.
He's a bit daft. I think I saw him after trying to get near two stylish dressed ladies outside Switzer's window. At the same little thing. I recognized him on the moment, the face and everything, but he didn't remember me.
Yes, and she didn't even want me to kiss her at the Broadstone going away.
Well, I hope she'll get someone to dance.
I hope she'll get someone to dance. Attendance on her the way I did
she was down with the mumps and her glands swollen. Of course she can't feel anything deep yet. Of course she can't feel anything deep yet. I never came properly till I was, 22 or so? They went into the wrong place
always.
Only the
usual girls' nonsense and giggling. That Connie Connolly writing to her in white ink on black paper sealed with sealing wax.
So she clapped when the curtain came down because he looked so handsome. Then we had Martin
breakfast, dinner, and supper. I thought to myself afterwards, it must be real love if a man gives up his life for her that way for nothing. I suppose there are
a few men like that left. It's hard to believe in it, though, unless it really happened to me.
The majority of them with not a particle of love in their natures. To find two people like that nowadays full up of each other that would feel the same way as you do.
They're usually a bit foolish
in the head. His father must have been a bit queer to go and poison himself after her.
Still, poor old man. I suppose he felt lost. She's always making love to my things, too.
Few old rags I have. Wanting to put her hair up at 15. My powder, too. Only ruin her skin, you know. She's time enough for that.
All her life after.
Of course she's restless and pretty. Her lips so red. A pity they won't stay that way. I was too, but there's no use going to the fair with the thing. Answering me like a fishwoman when I asked to go for half a stone of potatoes. The day we met Mrs. Joe Gallagher at the trotting matches, and she pretended not to see us in her trap of friary at the solicitor. We weren't grand enough until I gave her 2 damn fine cracks across the ear for
Take
that now for answering me like that. And that for your impudence. She had me that exasperated. Of course, contradicting me. I was bad-tempered, too, because how was it there was a weed in the tea?
There was a weed in the tea, or I didn't sleep the night before. Cheese I ate, was it? And I told her over and over again not to leave knives crossed like that, because she has nobody to command.
She said herself. Well, if he doesn't correct her, faith I will. That was the last time
she turned on the tear tap. I was just like myself. They daren't order me about the place. It's his fault, of course, having the two of us slaving instead of getting in a woman long ago.
Am I ever going to have a proper
servant again? Of course. Then she'd see him coming. I'd have to let her know, or she'd revenge it.
Aren't they a nuisance? That old Mrs. Fleming. You have to be walking around after her, putting the things into her hands, sneezing and farting into the pots.
Well, of course, she's old. She can't help it. A good job. I found that rotten old smelly dishcloth that got lost behind the dresser. I knew there was something. And opened the area window to let out the smell, bringing in his friends to entertain them, like the night he walked home with a dog. If you please, that might have been mad. especially Simon Badel's son. His father, such a criticizer with his glasses up, with his tall hat on him, at the cricket match, and a great big hole in his sock. One thing laughing at the other. And his son that got all those prizes for whatever he won them in the intermediate. Imagine climbing over the railings. If anybody saw him that knew us, I wonder if he didn't tear a big hole in his grand funeral trousers.
As if the one nature gave wasn't enough for anybody. Hawking him down into the dirty old kitchen.
Now, head, I asked. Pity it wasn't washing day. My old pair of drawers might have been hanging up two on the line on expedition for all he'd ever cared. With the iron mold mark, the iron mold bundle burned on them.
Stupid old bundle burned on them, he might think was something else. And she never even rendered down the fat, I told her. And now she's going such as she was on account of her paralyzed husband getting worse. There's always something wrong. Disease, or they have to go under an operation. Or if it's not that, it's drink. And he beats her. I'll have to hunt around again for someone. Every day I get up, there's some new thing. God. Well, when I'm stretched out dead in my grave, I suppose I'll have some peace. I want to get up a minute if I'm wet. Wait. Oh, Jesus, wait.
Yes, that thing.
Yes, that thing has come on me. Yes, now wouldn't that afflict you? Of course, all the poking and rooting and plowing he had up in me. Now what am I to do? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Wouldn't that pester the soul out of the body? Unless he likes it. Some men do, God knows. There's always something wrong with us. 5 days every 3 or 4 weeks. Usually monthly action.
Isn't it simply sickening?
Isn't it simply sickening? That night it came on me like that. The one and only time we were in a box that Michael Gunn gave him to see Mrs. Kendall and her husband at the Gaiety. Something he did about insurance for him in Grimmies. I was fit to be tied, though. I wouldn't give in. With that gentleman of fashion staring down at me with his glasses, and him on the other side of me
talking about Spinoza and his soul that's dead, I suppose, millions of years ago.
I smiled the best I could, all in a swamp, leaning forward as if I was interested, having to sit it out then to the last tag.
I won't forget that wife of Scarley in a hurry.
Supposed to be a fast play about adultery. That idiot in the gallery hissing. The woman adulteress, he shouted. I suppose he went and had a woman in the next lane running round all the back ways after to make up for it. I wish he had what I had. Then he'd boo. I bet the cat itself is better off than us.
Have we too much blood up in us, or what? Oh, patience, Bob, it's pouring out of me like the sea.
Anyhow, he didn't make me pregnant as big as he is. I don't want to ruin the clean sheets we just put on. I suppose the clean linen I wore brought it on too.
Damn it.
And they always wanted to see a stain on the bed. You know, you're a virgin for them. All that's troubling them. They're such fools, too. You could be a widow or divorced 40 times over. A daub of red ink would do, or blackberry juice. No, that's too purpley. Oh, Jamesy, let me up out of this.
Sweet sin. Whoever suggested that business for women, what between clothes and cooking and children, this damned old bed, too, jingling like the dickens. I suppose they could hear us away over the other side of the park, till I suggested to put the quilt on the floor with a pillow under my bottom. I wonder, is it nicer in the day? I think it is. Easy.
I think I'll cut all this hair off. Scalding me.
I might look like a young girl. Wouldn't he get the great sucking the next time he turned up my clothes on me? I'd give anything to see his face.
Where's the chamber gone?
Where's the chamber gone? Easy, I have a holy horror that's breaking under me after that old
commode. I wonder, was I too heavy sitting on his knee? I made him sit on the easy chair purposely when I took off only my blouse and skirt first in the other room.
He was so
busy where he oughtn't to be. He never felt me. I hope my breath was sweet after those comfits.
I remember one time I could scout it out straight, whistling like a man almost. Easy, Lord, how noisy. I hope there are bubbles on it for a wad of money from some fellow.
I'll have to perfume it in the morning. Don't forget. I bet he never saw a better pair of thighs than that.
Look how white they
are. The smoothest place is right there between this bit here.
Soft like a peach.
Easy, God. I wouldn't mind being a man and get up on a lovely woman. Oh, Lord, what a row you're making like Jersey lilies. Easy.
Oh, how the waters come down at Lahore.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Is there anything the matter with my eyes? Or have I something growing in me? Getting that thing like that every week. When was it last?
Monday.
Monday.
Yes, it's only about 3
only
weeks.
about 3 weeks.
I have to go to the doctor, only what it'd be like before I married him. When I had that white thing coming from me, and Chloe made me go to that dry old stick Dr. Collins for women's diseases
For women's diseases on Pembroke Road. Your vagina, he called it. I suppose that's how he got all the gilt mirrors and carpets, getting round those rich ones off Stephen's Green, running up to him for every little fiddle-faddle.
Her vagina and her Cochinchina. They've money, of course, so they're all right. I wouldn't marry him, not if he was the last man in the world. Besides, there's something queer about their children always smelling around those filthy bitches all sides,
asking me if what I did had an offensive odor. What did he want me to do but the one thing? Gold, maybe. What a question. If I smothered it all over his wrinkly old face for him with all my compliments, I suppose he'd know then.
And could you pass it easily? Pass what?
Pass what?
I thought he was talking about the Rock of Gibraltar,
the way he put it.
That's
a very nice invention, too, by the way. Only I like letting myself down after the hole as far as I can squeeze and pull the chain, then flush it. Nice cool pins and needles. Still, there's something in it, I suppose. I always used to know by Millie's when she was a child whether she had worms or not.
Still, all the same, paying him for that. How much is that, doctor? 1 guinea, please. And asking me, had I frequent omissions? Where do those old fellows get all the words they have? Omissions with his short-sighted eyes on me cocked sideways. I wouldn't trust him too far. To give me chloroform or God knows what else. Still, I liked him when he sat down to write the thing out, frowning so severe, his nose intelligent like that. He'd be
Damned, you lying strap.
Anything. No matter who except an idiot. He was clever enough to spot that, of course. That was all thinking of him.
And his mad, crazy letters. My precious one. Everything connected with your glorious body. Everything underlined that comes from it is a thing of beauty and of joy forever. Something he got out of some nonsensical book that he had me always at my cell 4 and 5 times a day sometimes.
And I said I had it. Are you sure?
Oh, yes, I said. I am quite sure, in a way that shut him up.
I knew what was coming next.
Only natural
weakness it was. He excited me, I don't know how. The first night ever we met,
when I was living in Rehoboth Terrace, we stood staring at one another for about 10 minutes as if we met somewhere. I suppose on account of my being Jewish looking after my mother. He used to amuse me.
The things he said with the half-sleuthering smile on him. And all the Doyles said he was going to stand for a member of Parliament.
Now wasn't I the born fool to believe all this blather about home rule and the land league, sending me to that long stroll of a song out of the Huguenots who sing in French to be more classy. Au beau pays de la Touraine, that I never even sang once.
Explaining and rigmaroling about religion and persecution, he won't let you enjoy anything naturally. Then might he as a great favor. The very first opportunity he got a chance in Brighton Square running into my bedroom, pretending the ink got on his hands, to wash it off with the Albion milk and sulfur soap I used to use.
And the gelatin still round it. Oh, I laughed myself sick at him that day.
I'd better not make an all-night sitting on this affair. They ought to make chambers a natural size so that a woman could sit on it properly. He kneels down to do it. I suppose there isn't in all creation another man with the habits he has.
Look at the way he's sleeping at the foot of the bed. How can he without a hard bolster? It's well he doesn't care. He might knock out all my teeth.
Breathing with his hand on his nose. Like that Indian god he took me to show one wet Sunday in the museum in Kildare Street. All yellow
in a pinafore, lying on his side on his hand with his 10 toes sticking out. That he said was a bigger religion than the Jews and our Lords both put together all over Asia, imitating him as he's always imitating everybody. I suppose he used to sleep at the foot of the bed too, with his big square feet up in his wife's mouth. Damn this stinking thing anyway. Where's this
those napkins are? Yes, I know.
I hope you'll press doesn't creak.
Oh, I knew it would.
He's sleeping hard.
Had a good time somewhere.
Still, she must have given him great value for his money. Of course he has to pay for it from her.
This nuisance of a
This
thing.
nuisance of a thing. I hope they'll have something better for us in the other world. Tying ourselves up. God help us. That's all right for tonight.
Now the lumpy old jiggly bed always reminds me of old Cohen. I suppose he scratched himself in it often enough. And he thinks Father bought it from Lord Napier that I used to admire when I was a little girl because I told him
Easy piano.
Oh,
I'd like that. God. Here we are as bad as ever after 16 years. How many houses were we in at all? Raymond Terrace and Ontario Terrace. Lombard Hollis Street. And he goes about whistling every time down again.
His Huguenots
with a frog's march, pretending to
help the men
four
with
sticks
our
of
4 sticks of furniture.
Then the city arms hotel.
And then the city arms hotel. Worse and worse, says Warden Daly.
that
Charming
charming
landing.
Always somebody inside praying, then leaving all their stinks after them.
Always know who is in there last.
Every time we're just getting on right, something happens.
Or he puts his big foot in it.
Toms and Hellies and Mr. Cuffs and Drimmies. Either he's going to be
run into prison over his old lottery ticket that was to be all our salvations, or he goes and gives impudence.
We'll have him coming home with the sack soon. Out of the Freemen, too, like the rest, on account of those Sinn Fein or the Freemasons. Then we'll see if
dribbling along in the wet, all by himself round by Cody's Lane, will give him much consolation. But he says he's so capable and sincerely Irish.
He is indeed, judging by the sincerity of the trousers I saw on him.
Wait, there's George's church bells.
Wait,
3/4 the hour.
Wait,
2
o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Wow.
Well, that's a nice hour of the night
to be coming home at anybody down the area.
If anybody saw him, I'll knock him off that little habit tomorrow. First I'll look at his shirt to see. Or I'll see if he has that French letter
still in his pocketbook. I suppose he thinks I don't know deceitful men. All their 20 pockets aren't enough for their lives.
Then why should we tell them? Even if it's the truth, they don't believe you.
Then tucked up in bed like those babies in the aristocrat's masterpiece he brought me another time. As if we had enough of that in real life without some real life aristocrat or whatever his name is disgusting you more with those rotten pictures.
Children with 2 heads and no legs. That's the kind of villainy they're always dreaming about, with not another thing in their empty heads. They ought to get slow poison, the half of them. Then tea and toast for him, buttered on both sides and new-laid eggs.
I suppose I'm nothing anymore.
When I wouldn't let him lick me in Hollis Street one night. Man, tyrant as ever. For the one thing, he slept on the floor half the night, naked, the way the Jews used when somebody dies belonged to them, and wouldn't eat any breakfast or speak a word wanting to be petted. So I thought I stood out enough for one time and let him.
He does it all wrong, too, thinking only of his own pleasure. His tongue is too flat, or I don't know what. He forgets that when I don't.
I'll make him do it again if he
I'll
doesn't.
make him do it again if he doesn't mind himself, and lock him down to sleep in the coal cellar with the black beetles. I wonder, was it hurt for Josie? Off her head with my cast-offs. He's such a born liar, too. No, he'd never have the courage with a married woman.
That's why
he wants me and Boylan. Though, as for her Dennis,
as she calls him, that forlorn-looking spectacle, you couldn't call him a husband. Yes, it's some little bitch he's got in with. Even when I was with him. With Millie,
called races. That hornblower with the child on the top of the knob.
Let us in by the back way. He was throwing his sheep's eyes at those two, doing skirt duty up and down. I tried to wink at him first.
No use, of course. And that's the way his money goes. This is the fruits of Mr. Paddy Dignam. Great style at the grand funeral and the paper Boylan brought in. If they saw a real officer's funeral, that'd be something.
Reversed arms,
muffled drums, the poor horse walking behind in black.
El Boom and Tom Kernan, that drunken little barrelly man that bit his tongue off falling down the men's WC, drunk in some place or other. and Martin Cunningham and the two Davises, and Fanny McCoy's husband, white head of cabbage, skinny thing with a turn in her eye, trying to sing my song.
She wanted to be born all over again, and her old green dress with the low neck, as she can't attract them any other way. Like dabbling on a rainy day. I see it all now plainly, and they call that friendship.
Killing and then burying one another. And they all with their wives and families at home more. Especially Jack Power, keeping that barmaid he does.
Of course, his wife is always sick or going to be sick or just getting better of it. And he's a good-looking man still, though he's getting a bit gray over the years. They're a nice lot, all of them.
Well, they're not going to get my husband again into their clutches if I can help it. Making fun of him then behind his back, I know well when he goes on with his idiotics. Because he has sense enough not to squander every penny piece he earns down their gullets. And looks after his wife and family.
Good-for-nothings. Poor Paddy Dignam. All the
same. I'm sorry in a way for him. What are his wife and 5 children going to do, unless he was insured? Comical little teetotum. Always stuck up in some pub corner, and her or her son waiting. Bill Bailey, won't you please come home?
Her widow's weeds won't improve her appearance. They're awfully becoming if you're good-looking. What men?
Wasn't he? Yes, he was at the Glen Cree dinner in Ben Dollard bass barrel tone. The night he borrowed Swallowtail to sing out of in Hollis Street, squeezed and squashed into them,
and grinning all over his big dolly face like a well-whipped child's body. Didn't he look a balmy bollocks? Sure enough, that must have been a spectacle on the stage. Imagine paying five in the preserved seats for that. To see him trotting off in his trousers. And Simon Davis, too. He was always turning up half screwed. Singing the second verse first.
The old love is the new was one of his.
So sweetly sang the maiden on the hawthorn bough.
He was always on for flirtifying, too. When I sang Maritana with him at Freddie Mayer's private opera, he had a delicious, glorious voice. Phoebe, dearest, goodbye, sweetheart. Sweetheart, he always sang it. Not like Bartle Darcy's sweet tart goodbye. Of course, he had the gift of the voice, so there was no art in it. All over you like a warm shower bath. Oh, Maritana, wildwood flower. We sang splendidly. Though it was a bit too high for my register, even transposed. And he was married at the time to Meg Goulding. But then he'd say or do something to knock the good out of it. He's a widower now.
I wonder what sort is his son. He says he's an author and going to be a university professor of Italian. And I'm to take lessons.
What is he driving at now? Showing him my photo. It's not good of me.
I ought to have
got it taken in. Drapery that never looks out of fashion.
Still, I look young in it. I wonder if he didn't make him a president of it altogether. And me, too, after all. Why not? I saw him driving down to the Kingsbridge station with his father and mother.
I was in mourning. That's 11 years ago now. Yes, he'd be 11. Though, what was the good in going into mourning for what was neither one thing nor the other?
The first cry was enough for me. I heard the death watch, too, ticking on the wall. Of course, he insisted. He'd go into mourning for the cat, I suppose.
He's a man
now by this time. He was an innocent boy then, and a darling little fellow in his Lord Fauntleroy suit and curly hair like a prince on the stage when I saw him at Matt Dillon's.
He liked me, too, I remember. They all do. Wait. I got it.
Wait. Yes, hold on. Yes, hold on. The cart this morning when I laid out the deck. You knew with a young stranger, neither dark nor fair you met before.
Neither dark nor fair you met before.
But he's no chicken nor a stranger either.
But he's no chicken nor a stranger.
Besides, my face was turned the other way.
Besides, my face
was turned the other way. What was the seventh card after that?
What was the seventh
10 of spades for a journey by land. Then there was a letter on its way, and scandals, three queens, and the 8 of diamonds, and the 8 of diamonds
for a rise in society.
It all came out.
Yes, wait, it all came out. And two red 8s for new garments. Look at that. And didn't I dream something too?
Yes, there was something about poetry in it. I hope he
has long greasy hair hanging into his eyes.
Or standing up like a red Indian.
What do they go about like that for?
Only getting themselves and their poetry laughed at. I always liked poetry when I was a girl.
First I thought he was a poet like Lord Byron, and not an ounce of it in his composition. I thought he was quite different.
I wonder if he's too young.
He's about
88.
I was
married 88.
Millie is
15 yesterday, 89. What age was he
then at Dylan's?
5 or 6. About 88.
I suppose he's 20 or more.
20 or more.
I'm not too old.
I'm not too old.
He's 23 or
23 or 24.
I hope not like that stuck on
university student sort.
No, otherwise he wouldn't go sitting down in the old kitchen with him.
Taking Pepsi's cocoa and talking. Of course, he pretended to understand it all. Probably he told him he was out of Trinity College. He's very young to be a professor.
I hope he's not a professor like Goodwin was. He was a
potent professor of John Jameson. They all write about some woman in their poetry. Well, I suppose you won't find many like me. Where softly sighs of love. The light guitar, where poetry is in the air, the blue sea and the moon shining so beautifully, coming back on the night boat from Tarifa.
The lighthouse at Europa Point. The guitar that fellow played was so expressive. Will I ever go back there again? All new faces.
2 glancing eyes, a lattice head.
A lattice
I've seen
head.
that for him. There in my eyes if he's anything of a poet. 2 eyes as darkly bright as love's own star.
Aren't those beautiful words? As love's young star. It'll be a change the Lord knows to have an intelligent person to talk to about yourself.
Not always listening to him and Billy Prescott's ad and Keyes' ad and Tom the Devil's ad. Then if anything goes wrong in their business, we have to suffer.
I'm sure he's very distinguished. I'd like to meet a man like that. God, not those other ruck. Besides, he's young. Those fine young men I could see down in Market Strand bathing place from the side of the rock. Standing up in the sun naked like a god or something. And then plunging into the sea with them. Why aren't all men like that? There'd be some consolation for a woman. Like that lovely little statue he bought.
I could look at him all day long. Curly head and his shoulders, his finger up for you to listen.
There's real beauty in poetry for you. I also felt that I wanted to kiss him all over.
Also his lovely young cock, they're so simple.
I wouldn't mind taking him in my mouth if nobody was looking.
As if it was asking you to suck it. So clean and white he looks, with his boyish face. I would too in half a minute, even if some went down. What? It's
only like gruel or the dew. There's no danger. Besides, he'd be so clean compared to those pig men.
I suppose
never dreamed of
washing
1 year's end. Most of them only.
That's what gives the women the mustaches, I'm sure.
It'll be grand if I can only get in with a handsome young poet at my age. I'll throw them the first thing in the morning until I see if the wish card comes out. Or I'll try pairing the lady yourself and see if he comes out.
I'll read and study all I can find. Or learn a bit off by heart. If I knew who he likes so he won't think me stupid.
If he thinks all women are the same, I can teach him the other part.
I'll make him
feel all over him till the half faints under me.
Then he'll write about me.
Lover and mistress, publicly too, with our 2 photographs in all the papers when he becomes famous. But then what am I going to do about him, though?
No, that's no way for him.
Has he no manners?
Nor no refinement, nor
nothing
of nature?
Slapping us behind like that on my bottom because I didn't call him Hugh the ignoramus that doesn't know poetry from a cabbage.
That's what you get for not keeping them in their proper place. Pulling off his shoes and trousers there on the chair before me, so barefaced without even asking permission.
And standing out that vulgar way in half of a shirt they were to be admired. Like a priest or a butcher or those old hypocrites in the time of Julius Caesar. Of course, he's right enough in his way to pass the time as a joke. Sure. You might as well be in bed with what? With a lion.
Gosh, I'm sure he'd have something better to say for himself. An old lion would. Well, I suppose it's because they're so plump and tempting in my short petticoat. He couldn't resist.
They excite myself sometimes. It's well for men all the amount of pleasure they get off women's bodies. We're so round and white for them always. I wished I was one myself.
I wished I was one myself for a change, just try. With that thing they have swelling up on you, so hard and at the same time so soft when you touch it.
My Uncle John has a thing long. I heard those corner boys saying, passing the corner of Marrowbone Lane. My Aunt Mary has a thing hairy because it was dark and they knew a girl was passing.
It didn't make me blush.
It didn't make me
Why
blush.
should it either?
Why should I either?
It's only nature.
It's only nature.
And he puts his thing long into my Aunt Mary's hairy, etc. And turns out to be you put the handle in a sweeping brush. Men again, all over. They can pick and choose what they please. A married woman or a fast widow or a girl for their different tastes, like those houses around behind Irish Street.
No, but we're to be always chained up. They're not going to be chaining me up. No damn fear once I start, I tell you.
For their stupid husband's jealousy. Why can't we all remain friends over it instead of quarreling? Her husband found it out, what they did together. Well, naturally. And if he did, can he undo it?
He's Coronado anyway, whatever he does. And then he going to the other mad extreme about the wife and fair tyrants. Of course, the man never even cast a second thought on the husband, or wife either. It's the woman he wants, and he gets her. What else were we given all those desires for? I'd like to know.
I can't help it if I'm young still, can I? It's a wonder I'm not an old shriveled hag before my time. Living with him. So cold. Never embracing me. Except sometimes when he's asleep. The wrong end of me, not knowing, I suppose, who he has.
Any man that would kiss bottom, I'd throw
my hat at him. After that, he'd kiss anything unnatural. Where we haven't one atom of any kind of expression in us. All of us the same 2 lumps of lard. Before ever I'd do that to a man. The dirty brutes. The mere thought is enough. I kissed the feet of you, senorita. There's some sense in that. Didn't he kiss our hall door? Yes, he did. What a madman. Nobody understands his cracked ideas but me. Still, of course, a woman wants to be embraced 20 times a day, almost to make her look young. No matter by who. So long as to be loved by somebody. If the fellow who you want isn't there, sometimes, by the Lord God, I was thinking, would I go around by the quays there some dark evening, where nobody'd know me, and pick up a sailor off the sea that'd be hot on for it, and not care a pin whose I was. Only do it off up in a gate somewhere. Or one of those wild-looking gypsies from Farnham had their camp pitched near the Bloomfield lawn to try and steal our things if they could. I only sent mine there a few times for the name. Model Laundry, sending me back over and over some old ones' odd stockings. That blacker-looking fellow with the fine eyes peeling a switch, and attack me in the dark and ride me up against the wall without a word. Or a murderer. Anybody.
What they do themselves. The fine gentlemen in their silk hats. That K.C. lives up somewhere this way, coming out of Hard Lane. The night he gave us the fish supper on account of winning over the boxing match.
Of course, it was for me he gave it. I knew him by his gaiters in the walks. And when I turned round a minute after, just to see, there was a woman after coming out of it too. Some filthy prostitute. Then he goes home to his wife after that. Only I suppose the half of those sailors are rotten again with disease. Oh, move over the big carcass out of that. For the love of might, listen to him. The winds that waft my side to thee, so well we may sleep and sigh. The great suggester Don Poldo de la Flora. If he knew how he came out on the cards this morning, he'd have something to sigh for. A dark man in some perplexity, between 2 sevens, too, in prison for Lord knows what he does that I don't know.
And I'm to be sneaking around down in the kitchen to get his lordship his breakfast while he's rolled up like a mummy. Will I indeed?
Did you ever see me
running? I just like to see myself at it. Show them
attention and they treat you like dirt.
I don't care what anybody
says. It would be much better for the world to be governed by the women in it. You wouldn't see women going and killing one another and slaughtering.
When do you ever see women rolling around drunk like they do, or gambling every penny they have and losing it on horses?
Because a woman, whatever she does, she knows where to stop. Sure, they wouldn't be in the world at all only for us.
They don't know what it is to be a woman and a mother.
How could they?
How could they?
Where would they all of them be if they hadn't all a mother to look after
All a
them?
mother to
What
look
I
after.
never had.
That's why I suppose he's running wild now. Out at night, away from his books and studies, and not living at home, on account
On the usual rowdy house, I suppose. Well, it's a poor case that those that have a fine son like that, they're not satisfied. And I none.
Was he not able to make one?
Wasn't my fault.
We came together when I was watching the two dogs up in her behind in the middle of the naked street. That disheartened me altogether.
I suppose I oughtn't to have buried him in that little woolly jacket I knitted, crying as I was. But give it to some poor child. But I knew well I'd never have
I'd never have another. Our first death, too, it was. We were never the same since. Oh, I'm not going to think myself into the glooms about that anymore. I wonder why he wouldn't stay the night. I felt all the time it was somebody strange she brought in, instead of roving around the city, meeting God knows who, night walkers and pickpockets.
His poor mother wouldn't like that if she was alive. Ruining himself for life, perhaps. Still, it's a lovely hour. So silent. I used to love coming home after dances, the air of the night. They have friends they can talk to. He's none. Either he wants what he won't get, or it's some woman ready to stick her knife in you. I hate that in women.
No wonder they treat us the way they do. We are a dreadful lot of bitches. I suppose it's all the troubles we have makes us so snappy.
I'm not like that.
I'm not like that.
He could easily have slept in there on the sofa in the other room. I suppose he was as shy as a boy, he being so young, hardly 20, with me in the next room. He'd have heard me on the chamber. What harm,
Daedalus, I wonder?
It's like those names in Gibraltar.
De La Paz, De La Gracia. They had the devil's queer names there. Father Villaplana of Santa Maria that gave me the rosary. Rosales y O'Reilly in the Calle Las Siete Revueltas, and Pisimbo and Mrs. Opiso in Governor Street. Oh, what a name. I'd go and drown myself in the first river I had like her. Oh my, and all the big streets, Paradise Ramp, Bedlam Ramp, Rogers Ramp, Crutchett's Ramp, and the Devil's Gap Steps. Well, small blame to me. I know I am a bit. I declare to God I don't feel a day older than then. I wonder, could I get my tongue around any of this Spanish?
¿Cómo está usted? Muy buen, gracias. ¿Y usted?
Usted? See, I haven't forgotten at all. I thought I had, only for the grammar. A noun is the name of any person, place, or thing.
Pity I never tried to read that novel, Cantankerous Mrs. Rubio Led Me by Valera. With the questions in it all upside down. The two ways I always knew we'd go away in the end. I can tell him the Spanish, and he'd tell me the Italian.
Then he'll see I'm not so ignorant. What a pity he didn't stay.
I'm sure the poor fellow was dead tired and wanted a good sleep badly. I could have brought him in his breakfast in bed with a bit of toast.
So long as I didn't do it on the night for bad luck. Or if the woman was going her rounds with the watercress and something nice and tasty. There are a few olives in the kitchen you might like. I never could bear the look of them in a brines. I could do the criada. The room looks all right since I changed it the other way.
You see, something was telling me all the time I'd have to introduce myself, not knowing me from Adam. Very funny, wouldn't it?
And his wife.
Or
pretend we were in Spain with him half awake without a God's notion where he is. Dos huevos estrellados, senor. Lord, the cracked things come into my head sometimes.
It'd be great fun. Supposing he stayed with us. Why not? There's the room upstairs empty, and Millie's bed in the back room. He could do his writing and studies at the table in there, for all the scribbling he does at it. And if he wants to read in bed in the morning like me, as he's making breakfast for one, he can make it for two, I'm sure.
I'm not going to take in lodgers off the street for him. If he takes a gazabo of a house like
I'd
this,
love to have a long talk with an intelligent, well-educated person. I'd have to get a nice pair of red slippers.
Have to get a nice pair of red slippers, like those Turks with the fez used to sell, or yellow, and a nice semi-transparent gown like that I want,
Or a peach blossom dressing jacket like the one long ago on Walpole's.
only 86 or 18 cents.
I'll just give him one more chance.
I'll get up early in the morning.
I'm so sick of Cohen's old bed in any case. I might go over to the markets to see all the vegetables and cabbages and tomatoes and carrots and all kinds of splendid fruits, all coming in lovely and fresh. Who knows who'd be the first man I'd meet?
They're out looking for it in the morning. Mammy Dillon used to say they are. And the night, too. That was her mass going.
I'd love a big juicy pear now to melt in your mouth, like when I used to be in the longing way.
Then I'll throw him up the eggs and steam in the mustache cup she gave him to make his mouth bigger. I suppose he'd like my nice cream, too. I know what I'll do. I'll go about rather gay. Not too much singing, a bit now and then. Mi fa pieta mustache. Then I'll start dressing myself to go out. Presto, non sum più forte. I'll put on my best shifts and drawers. Let him have a good eyeful of that to make Santa Claus stand for him. I'll let him know if that's what he wanted, that his wife is fucked. Yes, and damn well fucked too. Up to my neck, nearly not by him, 5 or 6 times hand running. There's the mark of his spunk on the clean sheet. I wouldn't bother to even iron it out. That ought to satisfy him. If you don't believe me, feel my belly. Unless I made him stand there and
put him into me.
I
have a mind to tell him every scrap
and make him do it out in front of me. Serve him right. It's all his own fault if I'm an adulterer, as the thing in the gallery said. Oh, much about it if that's that harm ever did in the trail of tears. God knows it's not much. Doesn't everybody? Only they hide it. I suppose that's what a woman is supposed to be there for.
Or he wouldn't have made us
the way he did.
So attractive to men. Then if he wants to kiss my bottom, I'll drag it in my drawers and bulge it right out in his face, as large as life. He can stick his tongue 7 miles up my hole as he's there, my brown part. Then I'll tell him I want 1 pound, or perhaps 30. I'll tell him I want to buy underclothes. Then if he gives me that, well, he won't be too bad. I don't want to soak it all out of him like other women do. I could often have written out a fine check for myself and write his name on it for a couple of pounds.
A few times he forgot to lock it up. Besides, he won't spend it. I'll let him do it off on me behind, provided he doesn't smear all my good drawers.
That can't be helped.
Oh, I suppose that can't be helped. I'll do the indifferent 1 or 2 questions. I'll know by the answers. When he's like that, he can't keep a thing back.
I know every turn in him. I'll tighten my bottom well and let out a few smutty words. Smell rump or lick my shit, or the first mad thing comes into my head. Then I'll suggest about...
Yes.
Oh, wait now, Sonny. My turn is coming. I'll be quite gay and friendly over it. Oh, but I was forgetting this bloody pest of a thing. You wouldn't know which to laugh or cry for such a mixture of plum and apple.
No, I'll have to wear the old things. So much the better. It'll be more pointed. He'll never know whether he did it or not. There, that's good enough for you. Any old thing at all. Then I'll wipe him off me just like a business, his omission. Then I'll go out. I'll have him eyeing up at the ceiling. Where is she gone now? Make him want me.
That's the only way.
A quarter after? What an unearthly hour. I suppose they're just getting up in China now, combing out their pigtails for the day. We'll soon have the nuns ringing the angelus.
There's nobody coming in to sleep except an odd priest or 2 for his night office.
Or the alarm clock next door at Cockshout, clattering the brains out of itself.
Let me see if I can doze off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What kind of flowers are those they invented like the stars? The wallpaper on Lombard Street was much nicer. The apron he gave me was like that something. Only I only wore it twice. Better lower this lamp and try
try again as long as I can get up early.
I'll go to Lamb's Day with my Finlayers and get them to send us some flowers to put about the place. In case he brings them home tomorrow. Today,
No, Friday's an unlucky day. First I want to do the place up some way. The dust grows in it, I think, while I'm asleep.
Then we can have music and cigarettes. I can accompany him. First I must clean the keys of the piano with milk. What will I wear? Shall I wear a white rose? Or those fairy cakes and Liptons? I love the smell of a rich big shop. It's 7.5D a pound. Or the other
ones with the cherries in them and the pinky sugar. 11D. A couple of pounds of those. A nice plant for the middle of the table. I'd get that cheaper and... Wait, where's this I saw in Melville? I love flowers. I'd love to have the whole place swimming in roses. God of heaven, there's nothing like nature. The wild mountains, then the sea, and the waves rushing. Then the beautiful country with the fields of oats and wheat and all kinds of things.
And all the fine cattle going about. That would do your heart good to see rivers and lakes and flowers.
All sorts of shapes and smells and colors springing up. Even out of the ditches.
Primroses and violets.
Nature it is.
That's what I'm saying, there's no God.
I wouldn't give a snap of my 2 fingers for all their learning. Why don't they go and create something? I often asked him,
atheists or whatever they call themselves, go and wash the cobbles off themselves first. Then they go howling for the priest and they die.
And why? Why? Because they're afraid of hell on account of their bad conscience. Ah, yes, I know them well. Who was the first person in the universe before there was anybody? That made it all? Who? That they don't know. Neither do I, so there you are. They might as well try to stop the sun from rising tomorrow. The sun shines for you, he said. The day we were lying among the rhododendrons on Half Head.
And the great tweed suit and the straw hat. The day I got him to propose to me. Yes. First I gave him a bit of seed cake out of my mouth.
And it was leap year like now. Yes. 16 years ago.
My God. After that long kiss, I near lost my breath. Yes, he said
I was a flower of the mountain. Yes, so we are flowers all, a woman's body. Yes, that was
one true thing he said in his life. And the sun shines for you today.
Yes, that's why I liked him.
That was why I liked him. Because I saw he understood or felt what a woman is.
And I knew I could always get round.
And
I gave him all the pleasure I could. Leading him on till he asked me to say yes. And I wouldn't answer first. Only looked out over the sea and the sky. I was thinking of so many things. He didn't know of Mulvey and Mr. Stanhope and Hester and Father and old Captain Groves and the sailors playing all birds fly. And I'd say stoop, and washing up dishes, they called it, on the pier.
And the sentry of the governor's house with the thing around his white helmet. Poor devil, half roasted. And the Spanish girls laughing in their shawls and their tall combs.
And the auctions in the morning.
The Greeks,
the Jews, the Arabs, and the devil knows who else. From all the ends of Europe. And Duke Street.
And the fowl market,
all clucking outside Barbara Sharon's.
And the poor donkeys sleeping half asleep.
And the vague fellows in the cloaks,
asleep in the shade on the steps. And the big wheels of the carts of the bulls.
And the old cats are thousands of years old.
Yes, and those handsome Moors all in white and turbans like kings.
Asking you to sit down in their little bit of a shop.
And round up at the old windows of the posadas.
Two glancing eyes at last hid for her lover to kiss.
The iron and wine shop half open at night.
And the castanets.
And then at night we missed the boat at Algeciras. The watchman going about serene his lamp. And that awful downtorrent. Oh, and the sea. The sea crimson sometimes like fire. And the glorious sunsets. And the fig trees in the Almeida gardens. Yes, all the queer little streets. And the pink and blue and yellow houses. And the rose gardens.
And the jessamine and geraniums and cactuses. And Gibraltar as a girl, where I was a flower of the mountain. Yes, I put the rose in my hair like the Andalusian girls use.
Or shall I wear red?
Yes.
And how he kissed me on the orange wall.
And
I thought, well, him as another. And then I asked him with my eyes to ask again. Yes.
And then he asked me, would
And then he asked me, would I?
Yes.
To say, yes, my mountain flower. And first I put my arms around him. Yes, and drew him down to me so he could feel my breath all perfume.
Yes.
Yes, his heart was going like mad. And yes, I said, yes, I will.
Yes.
Yes.
End of chapter 18. End of Ulysses.